federal public benefits, and immigration really dislike this, so they want to make sure that somebody is able to pay back the government in case this happens. But the other role also of the joint sponsor is, to step in case the spouse cannot provide the foreign national up to 125% of the poverty guidelines, which is not really much, but that's the other component of the affidavit of support. In practice, I've never seen it actually apply. I think some family lawyers said, well, the spouse can actually go to court, in the divorce proceedings and make sure, the U.S. citizen spouse or permanent resident spouse maintain them at 125% of the poverty guidelines. Technically, it is a contract that you sign with the federal government. And some people, I think, have been successful, arguing this. So just be mindful of that. And the affidavit of support does not stop. So your obligation to maintain your spouse does not stop until even they get their green card. It stops when they become U.S. citizen, or they forbear their green card, leave the United States, die, or they've earned enough quarters from Social Security. I think it's 10 years. So you're not liable anymore. So that's about that. And as far as processing time, as I said earlier, so you'd get like receipts from immigration after filing within about a month, and that would allow the spouse, the foreign national, to get a driver's license. They're not able to get a social until the work permit is approved. That's in about 3 to 4 months. And I'm talking about, 2 days processing time, which obviously vary, month to month. But right now, yes, I would say 3 to 4 months to get a work permit. And the travel document, as I mentioned earlier, would be about, 9-10 months. It could be longer, depending on immigration, depending on them. And then the green card can be approved, as I said, without interview. More than likely, I would say 95% of cases are getting approved without interview these days. But immigration can come back to request further evidence right before they're ready to approve your case. That's when the file basically gets to the local office. So, initially it gets processed with the, one of the service centers or national benefit center. And then once it's ready to be adjudicated, it will get moved and transferred to the local office. So here we're talking about Orlando, for example. Orlando will issue what's called a request for evidence or a notice of intent to deny on your applications to get further information, to get additional proof of your bona fide marriage if not much was submitted initially. And then once you respond, you'll be able to get an answer on that. One thing that just happened with the Trump administration also, with the medical exam, you're kind of subject to a ton of vaccinations. And, as these like anti-COVID-19 vaccine, that actually has been waived because people were supposed to continue getting, shots, the, whatever you call it, the
COVID
boosters. Yeah, the boosters. And so, people are like, seriously, right? This happened 4 years ago. Why are we still needing to get boosters? That's crazy. So that has been waived. Now we no longer need COVID-19 vaccination. So some people are very happy about that. But it still doesn't mean, you're not going to need to do all.
That's all risk. Yeah.
So right now, I think it's the flu season. So there's a flu vaccine. There's, all kinds of vaccinations. So I always recommend people, try to gather as much evidence of your prior vaccinations, even if it's like from back home, and bring that to the doctor because, otherwise you're going to be in for, a lot of vaccinations and side effects, I would say.
Yeah, pumping all those vaccinations, especially I know, especially when we're traveling.
Yeah.
Some that are from Africa that we're back home. because we've been away for a while, we are no longer the same. So we have to take those vaccination
Like,
when going back home. Yeah. So yeah.
but that's quite a bit. Um, yeah, so that's it pretty much as far as the filing goes, and the process. Um, and what did I write down here? I had, yeah, so as far as fraud, I think we kind of discussed the fraud aspects earlier. So be mindful. That it is your burden of proof to show by preponderance of the evidence that your marriage is of good faith. So it's not for immigration to, well, kind of decipher, okay, is this valid? I'm not sure. If they have enough doubts about your relationship, you're going to be denied. You really need to up your game and make sure you submit as much as possible.
I Sorry, I see when it comes to that, I see a lot of people, they like take pictures, they go to the
Yeah.
beach, they do all those things, restaurant, eat together. Does all that stuff work?
Well,
Or they see through it?
I sometimes I look at people's pictures and I'm like, oh dear Lord. I mean, if the officer sees this, I don't know. I mean, I would have my doubts. Don't take pictures of every single food you're eating. Or ask the waiter to take a picture of, every restaurant you go to. I mean, you sitting on the bed together, and it's like
Yeah.
a third party is taking a picture of you. I mean, no. That's
Okay.
it, right? So no, you need like actual real life, setting. Like who would take picture of, people like eating dinner or something? I don't know. It's not my thing, but maybe some do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But pictures of the two of you, obviously, at the beach is fine. On vacation, just doing random things. Going doing an activity, going to Disney or something. That makes sense, right? Pictures with friends, that's also good. With family members, pictures of the wedding, that's very important.
Yeah.
I do see sometimes like people that have no witnesses, or it's just the two of them, and it's like 3 4 random pictures of a wedding.
Wow.
Probably not. It's not going to do it, So yeah, be mindful of that. They do also, check social media quite often. So be
Mhm.
mindful of what you post on there. And I'm talking about all kinds of cases here. But if you're not going to be in a legit marriage and you're saying, well, maybe you're single but you're married, or you're posting pictures that just don't add up with your marriage.
No pictures of X.
Yeah, exactly. So those are all things you really have to be mindful of, I would say. Um, yeah. So aside from that, as I said before, like if you're in a case where like there's age difference, there's prior immigration filings, if the foreign national has been married before, try to get a green card, did not get approved. Now he's getting married to another spouse to get a green card. That's going to be a red flag for sure. Because now we're not only going to look at this current marriage, the validity of this current marriage, but we're also going to look at the prior marriage. So any attempt to get an immigration benefit is always, looked upon. And so they will try to, kind of decipher, what went on. Was this a valid relationship? You're going to have to submit proof, right, of that relationship as well. So, it gets more and more difficult the more layers you add to it. And it's kind of the same, if the U.S. citizen spouse get their green card through, a marriage as well. There could be some limitations here. I had a client who got their green card through a spouse who was only a permanent resident, not a U.S. citizen, fought for now a different spouse. Well, there's actually the thing in the law that says, well, you cannot file for another spouse within 5 years of getting the green card. So those are things to know, but these people didn't know, right, when they file. So now the standard of proof is going to be higher, because now you're trying to say, well, no, I did get married within the 5 years, but my marriage is, like, by clear and convincing evidence, it's a real marriage. So yeah, the burden of proof is going to be higher. Yeah. So, do you have questions for me?
I do have questions, but before we go to questions, we'll take a little news updates and stuff, and then we'll come back with questions. There are some folks that have posted some questions in the chat already,
Cool.
and then we'll go to them just after this little news break.
All right, sounds good.
Alrighty, so okay, let's get on it. One moment. Okay.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Immigration Touchpoint News. Here are the latest developments shaping the national and local immigration landscape. The Department of Justice has issued a controversial mandate. According to ABC News, federally funded legal service providers have been ordered to stop supporting immigrants in court. Advocates warn that this decision will significantly limit access to legal representation for vulnerable groups trying to navigate the immigration system. In border news, the president's deployment of troops has sparked intense backlash. The Latin Times reports that advocates have called the move reckless, warning that it could lead to, quote, more disorder, chaos, and cruelty. Local communities near the border are also concerned about potential safety and civil rights impacts. In a major legal development, the New York Times reports that a federal judge has temporarily blocked the president's plan to end birthright citizenship. This legal decision delays what would be a significant overhaul of long-standing U.S. immigration and citizenship policies. Meanwhile, in schools across the nation, educators are bracing for the effects of potential immigration arrests. The Washington Post reports that fear and anxiety are high among immigrant families. Teachers and administrators are implementing new measures aimed at reassuring students and parents during these uncertain times. Shifting to broader policy, Politico reveals that the president's aggressive immigration actions are overwhelming an already strained system. Efforts to find a bipartisan solution have been rejected by Republican leadership, further complicating meaningful reform. In local news, an incident in New Jersey has drawn significant criticism. Axios reports that a local mayor has accused Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE, of unlawfully detaining a U.S. citizen and even a military veteran during a recent raid. The allegations have intensified calls for oversight in ICE operations. Similarly, in Newark, North Jersey reports that ICE raids targeting local establishments have led to the detention of multiple undocumented residents, putting a renewed spotlight on enforcement practices in the region. On a broader legal level, Houston Landing highlights the pivotal role of local prosecutors in determining the outcomes of immigration cases. They have become an increasingly important factor as communities grapple with the implications of intensified immigration enforcement. And finally, in San Diego, Fox 5 San Diego reports on how ICE operations are affecting county jails. The strain on local jail systems is one of many unforeseen consequences of these heightened immigration policies. Meanwhile, NBC San Diego explores how executive actions on immigration and border security are causing ripple effects throughout border communities, further altering daily life in the region. These stories underscore the intense challenges and debates surrounding immigration policy at both the national and local levels. We'll continue monitoring these developments and bring you updates as they unfold. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Already. Okay, that's a little summary of what's been happening.
Yeah.
Just went through a couple of issues, people running crazy and stuff. Hey, relax, we're here. Come here, we will tell you what to do, we will tell you what you need to know, And every month, at the end of the month, we'll go through what's happened, and then you can ask your question. So let's go straight to the questions. I know there was one question from, before I go to this one, there was one question from a lady talking about requesting visa for siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you have any answer for that one? Let me see if I get the exact.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the what's called the visa bulletin.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, there's two separate things, right? When you file for a family member, so obviously they fall in separate categories depending on their their status, whatever, their children, they're married, over the age of 21, brothers, sisters, and if you're a permanent or citizen filing for them. So in this case, a U.S. citizen filing for a sibling, you have to look at not only the processing times for the petition. So we're talking about an I-130 petition that was filed. So one thing is, you could certainly look at how long USCIS takes to approve that petition. But it's really not that important in the end, because what really matters is if a visa is available and when it's going to become available. And what you need to look at for that, it's not USCIS processing times, it's what's called the visa bulletin. And that's administered by the Department of State. And then I don't know how to share my screen. I don't know if I can share. Oh yeah, I can share my screen here, right?
Yeah.
So I'll share it here, if that's okay.
Sure.
I don't know if I can do it here actually.
Yeah, there should be a button on the bottom. Share.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen as of now.
Oh, it
Anyway,
doesn't show you.
I can always share. I can share a link later if that's okay.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Let me see. Here it is. Okay. Can you see this well?
A little bit, though. It's yeah.
Seems okay, let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm on my husband's computer, so. All right. Well, I'm just pulling this up for you guys. But yeah, I don't know how to. Here it is. I don't know. Okay. All right. So this is called a visa bulletin, and this is published on a monthly basis. And you see this is the travel.state.gov. And it's, that's the Department of State basically publishing the bulletin every month. And it's going to tell you basically, which applications are they processing at a given, month, on a given month, based on, where the family member stands. So, you have the F1 and it's explained here. Unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. Second, that's permanent resident, filing for spouses and children. That's the F2A. F2B for unmarried sons and daughters of permanent residents. Third would be married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. And the fourth is brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens. So we're talking here about family fourth category. And we have two different charts, which, this is the one you would look at if your family member is overseas, waiting for the green card or the visa to become available. It's going to tell you, this is what they're processing right now. So any petitions, the I-130 petitions that were filed on or before August 1st, 2007, will be eligible for now a green card. A visa is available in that category. So I think this person said they had filed 12 years ago, right?
Yes.
Which were 2020, let's say 2025. So this would be 2013, right? Their priority date is 2013. meaning she's probably has another 6 years to wait, right? Because they're processing petitions filed before August 2007. So now, mind you, the chart, they don't move every month. So the numbers don't move every month. Some month it just stagnates, and sometimes it does move. But this is what you need to look at if you want to have a better idea of how your case is moving when you have such a long processing time, like in the family fourth category.
Awesome.
All right, so let me stop share.
That's perfect. Okay, so let's go to there was a question in the chat. Let's go. Let me show the question here. So it says, if you have a green card, does traveling in and out of the country affect, let me show it again, affect the length of time in which you can apply for your American passport or file for citizenship?
It can, yeah. It's so for citizenship, we're like on a very different topic here. But for citizenship, there's two things you need to look at. Also, depending on if you're applying based on the 3-year or the 5-year. 3-year would be based on marriage, 5 years any other category. But let's say you're applying based on the 5 years. So 5 years being a permanent resident. They would look at the past 5 years, right, prior to filing, and how long you spent outside of the U.S. So there's what's called a physical presence requirement, and there's the continuous presence requirement. Physical presence means you have to have been in the U.S. for at least half of the time during the past 5 years. So, I'm not good at math and I can't remember what the number is, but, you divide the number of days in 5 years. And you divide it by 2, and that's how many days you would have had to be in the U.S. And then the other test is you cannot spend more than 6 months continuously outside of the United States. Otherwise, that will impact. It will break the continuous presence, which is required for your citizenship. So those are 2 things you need to look at. So take all your trips for the past 5 years. You count them all and see if you meet, and the 6 month is an easy test, whether or not you spent more than 6 months outside the US. But yeah, and then I believe every day that, the day that you travel out of the US and the day you come back, they're counting as days in the US. So that's, beneficial to you. Yep.
That's good. Yeah, like me, I remember. So like me, I knew about this even when I had my green card, and because of that, I never, throughout my 5 years, I never traveled anywhere because I knew that's a very easy way to get my citizenship without any questions, without any problem. Because I knew if you travel out, you have to document when you left, when you came in, for every trip, and if anything is mismatched, you could get delays or stuff in your application for citizenship. So people who travel, or sometimes some people might even travel and go to maybe Jamaica or somewhere close, and they will realize that you went out of the US. So, and then you don't account for that. And then they're like, wait a minute, we see some record over here that is not in what you're presenting.
So there's, a little bit of flexibility, obviously, not especially now, they don't stamp passports anymore. And then you don't even have access to your travel history as a permanent resident on, the CBP website. So the only way to really find out your trips is to get what's called a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request with the Customs and Border Protection, but that's going to take like a year to get back, right? So by then you would have been able to get interviewed at least 3 times. So the best way is really, do your best to try to get all the dates, from itineraries to pictures or whatnot. But yeah, I've had clients that travel extensively where they could not even remember all the dates because there were just so many. But
yeah, that's what. That's why I tell people, I'm like, hey, if you have your green card and you're going to apply for citizenship, do not travel unless it's really, really important for you to travel. Yeah, you can stay. You can go around the US and find places to have vacation and stuff.
Yeah.
And then after the 5 years, you are free to travel anywhere you want. So because like you said, you might if you travel a lot, you might not even remember
Mm.
your dates at the time that you traveled. So I just like to avoid that stress and stuff, trying to look for. I actually had that happened recently. A close family member was trying to like, oh, what? I was asking me, I'm like, how did you travel? How will I know the day you traveled and the day you came back? So it's always good to like
Talking
streamline it.
about, I'm sorry to cut you off, but well, I remember that it's also very important to not travel if you have any kind of criminal records. I would say double check with, immigration attorney, whatnot. If you had any arrest with conviction, make sure you have all your certified copies of criminal records for when you do travel back to the US. But even then, you could put your green card at risk if you have such background.
Yeah, yeah. So good to know. Good to know.
Mm.
So I think those are the few questions, and we are almost up to time. So I will say another question I would love to ask is with all that is going on, with all the news and all the craziness, everybody's like, oh, these. So it's a all immigrants are like, hey, man, am I safe? Am I safe and stuff? So what can you say to assure people that, hey, despite what happens, if your ducks are in the row, there's nothing for you to worry
Right.
about and stuff,
Well,
something
they
like
shouldn't, right? So yeah, make sure you carry a copy of your green card, passport with you, I'd say at all times, just in case, for whatever reason, the police decide to arrest you. I know, and I don't want to scare people, but that you saw the news, obviously, ICE is coming to public schools now,
that.
and it has happened not too far from Orange County. Um, so yeah, they are targeting, undocumented immigrants, not the documented ones, but the undocumented. But yeah, it is a scary, scary era. So just, yeah, make sure that if you have any doubts whatsoever, or maybe your status is in limbo for whatever reason, make sure you try to get, as you say, all your ducks in a row. Because we don't really know what's coming. But yeah, as long as you have legal status, there's just no reason to worry. And there are courts for that too. To assert your rights. So if
Uh,
I go to federal courts often, and to fight, because some situations are definitely not fair. We have to fight for those that can't. So
yeah. Oh, we got one question that just came in last minute. Let me see if you can touch this. It says, I guess because we were talking
yeah.
about all that's going on,
Mhm.
uh, it says, okay, with all the new developments, can I still file for a family member as a citizen?
I would say so. I mean, right now, I know Trump wanted to end, chain migration and so on. Nothing has come out. I don't know if anything will come out. I would say the sooner you file, the better, because those who would have filed probably would be more protected, than those who haven't filed anything yet. So, your petition may be grandfathered um, if you file now, but it's hard to say. I can't predict all the craziness that's going to happen in the next 4 years. We can have monthly podcasts to discuss all this. But yeah, so far so good. People are filing petitions, and I would say it's a pretty much like a small cost to pay. If you want your family member to get in line.
Yeah, okay. Cool, cool. Yeah, and then I think the last minute questions are coming in because they know we are heading out of here. So there's one more that says, as a second generation to immigrant parents, do I need to keep my passport on me as well?
I would
Uh,
keep a copy. Yeah, it's always a good idea.
Yeah, cool.
As you know, where was this in New Jersey or Chicago? They've detained a U.S. citizen by error, but they can't detain anybody by error until you prove that you have status. So as you, I would keep that document with me, maybe at least a copy.
I just want to ask this. I was listening to somebody that was saying, hey, if you were stopped and you were asked to be searched, that you should say no so that it's on the record, even if you know that they might still search you. That if you
Yeah.
say no, you don't consent to a search,
Mm-hmm.
that it could help legally. So even though they might still go ahead and search.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, yeah, I'm not a criminal attorney, so that's not my area of expertise. But as far as at least getting a copy of your documents with you,
Yeah.
that's definitely what I would do.
Sure.
And yes, our office can help with filing. Obviously, I saw the last question from
Okay.
a member.
Yeah. Okay.
But I assume my contacts are out there anyways. Now Austin will provide that.
Okay, let me see. Let me see. Did you put it in the chat? Let me just share it on the screen. If you have it, copy and paste. So yeah, if you have any personal, there are some things we cannot talk on the podcast here. Those are personal to you and stuff. You can always reach out to Maud, reach out to our office, and I can tell you she can take good care for you. Hey, for those of you that are from French speaking African countries, she's from France, so she can understand you. She can talk with you. So, mon ami, you just reach out to her.
I'm putting my office number here, and the name of our firm is Vasquez and Poudin,
Okay.
the LLC, and we're like right next to downtown. So we do consult remotely as well as in person as well.
Okay. So that's her practice name, and
yeah, that's the email you can reach out to if you want to book a consultation, and then the phone number of the office.
Yeah, the email is in the chat too, and then you can get everything in the chat. You see the phone number there, and also the email is there as well, so you can reach out. That's their website. Yeah, their email. Sorry.
Yeah, let me give you the.
And then it's still the website too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here it is.
So that's the information, and I think that's all for today. The next one is going to be the last Sunday of February, and we have another one. Then we will go through all the stuff that has happened between now and then. I know by then a lot of you might have more questions with, hey, this has happened, and so by then we might be even better, have more clarity on what and how to navigate what's going on and what the proper way to do stuff and things. So I want to thank Attorney Maud for joining us and offering us this community service. And we really appreciate you for that. Merci beaucoup.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, so in the office, we speak English, French, Spanish, Portuguese.
Yeah.
So most people here speak English, maybe French a little bit.
Yeah. At least greet them in French. Just say something to our French speaking Africans.
Merci de nous avoir écouté, de m'avoir écouté aujourd'hui via ce podcast. Et puis on est là pour vous aider si besoin, il n'y a pas de souci. Vous avez l'information dans la discussion.
Merci. Already. All right.
It was a lot of fun. I like the podcast, idea. I'm not used to this, but it's good. So less people than the webinar, which I like. It's more.
Yeah, I'll give you more tips on it. No worries.
Sounds great. So see you on the 23rd then.